Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 18th day of May. Aaron Judge has got 4 home runs in 4 games. He is getting red hot. I'm going to ask Keith Engel, who will be a guest in tonight, 30 minutes past the hour. Can the Yankees catch the Tampa Bay Devil Rays? Haven't really talked a lot of baseball since the start of the season with the NBA playoffs heating up. And, of course, the NFL draft this past month, caught up in a lot of different, more important, sense of urgency, I guess, other than a draft because it's so bleeping popular. But either way, I'm going to ask Keith Engel. He'll be here 30 minutes past the hour. We'll talk about that. ESPN direct-to-consumer rumors. So you'll be able to possibly get ESPN, just pay the $10 a month and get it separately as a stream. Looks like the NFL is going to put, reports are going to put one NFL game on the Peacock channel. And that's a playoff game. I'm not a big fan of that. Plus, we'll go over the playoffs, tonight's game, and more. We'll hit the ground running here in 49 seconds here. Go ahead and get the first and only break out of the way here, okay? Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. And I'm back live here. Okay. Also, announcement here. I just figured something out. Elon Musk made the announcement today that Twitter, you can see 2 hours of video at a time here. So I just figured this out. You can now, since I found a way to download this program from StreamYard, you can watch the program in full on Twitter now. That's going to help I don't know, John, if you noticed that, Rich. So that's another avenue. I'll be able to download the program directly into Twitter. So now you can see it on Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube, Facebook. Now I'm on 2 different YouTube channels, of course. Let's Talk Sports. Dave Harris, the founder there. So the program's really growing. I want to thank you all for that help. That is huge. I've been trying to get StreamYard to stream live through Twitter. I've had problems with that. Not so much with Facebook. Facebook's worked fine with StreamYard. Now, I know others podcasters on various have not had that problem. But that being said, the whole program now is looking to the whole program now, is expanding on different avenues, ways to see it. It's growing as a whole, and I want to thank you all for that. Carlos says Tampa's looking like a tough team. Saw them playing last Saturday at Yankee Stadium. Yeah, that's a big question. I may ask you about the Yankees as well, Carlos, tomorrow. Definitely going to ask you about the Mets when we do our show. Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez will be here on the program tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, not unless something goes down with you, Carlos. Okay, so first, let's talk about the team who won last night. I'm so tired of complaining about the loser and that Boston Celtics team. Something I didn't realize that Miami, they've got 34-year-old Kevin Love on this team. Kevin Love comes from a championship team. Obviously, he won a ring there with LeBron James, 2016 Cleveland Cavalier team. 37-year-old Kyle Lowry. 37-year-old Lowry played on that 2019 Toronto Raptors team. And, this Miami team is resilience, and you just got to give them credit where they're due. This is very much like the team in the NFL. You see this. You don't really see this a lot in the NBA. You see it in the NCAA tournament. A team gets hot in the tournament. I remember one time Connecticut in the tournament won they had 5 games in 5 days. Ended up winning a national championship. They played the 5 games in their Big East tournament and ended up winning the national championship. You all remember that a few years ago. This team got hot the second half of the Toronto game in the play-in game. And, has been hot ever since. They go ahead and beat, I know Milwaukee got injured there with Giannis, but they do beat that team. I want to say 6 games, beat Milwaukee in 6 games. Same thing with a higher seeded Knicks team, and now they've won game 1. Here's Eric Spoelstra. Listen to this soundbite talking about Jimmy Butler has this team playing at a really high level.
Effect
that, let me rewind it. Here we go.
Spo, you've given so
Eric
much praise to the
Jimmy
entire
Butler
group, but specific to Jimmy, when he's consistently at this level, what does it do for the rest of the guys to have the belief that he's out there and able to close?
You can't quantify it. There's no analytic to it. Just the feeling of stability in the locker room, even when you're down 9. In the first half when we played poorly, but you have to credit Boston because they made us play poorly. There's just a settling effect that it's impossible to quantify. That, like, all right, we're in striking distance. Let's just settle into our game, and Jimmy will make a bunch of plays, Bam will make a bunch of plays, and we'll be all right. And everybody can just fit into their roles. But that's what the great players, do.
Yep, sure do. They made. He had 27 points in the third quarter of this game. And I want to say they outscored Boston 46-25. Then you got Joe Mazzulla, the head coach there for Boston, saying, well, we won the other quarters. Yeah, what difference does it make if you didn't win the game? That really irritated the fire out of me. Now, here is, by the way, Corey introduced me to this plus minus thing. Now, I've heard other analysts talk about that. There's a lot of analytics now in the NBA. JJ Redick mentioned the term win shares. I'm not sure what win shares mean. That could mean anything. But Corey's talking about the NBA.com. They got the plus minus here. And also, you got to look at the play of a Bam for Miami. He had the highest plus minus of anybody on that team. He's the next young talent, other than a Jimmy Butler, that this team's really trying to run, lean on. And he had 18 there for his plus minus. Here is Bam talking about his passing ability, and Kyle Lowry kind of joking with him about it, but he reminded Lowry, hey, I had more assists than you. Listen to this soundbite.
Bam, come.
My teammates want me to be aggressive first. If they start to send a double, I'm a phenomenal passer, so that's when I can make the extra pass or.
That's crazy. I'll take it.
I had more assists than you.
You had the ball more than me, though.
Anyways.
He told Kyle Lowry, he said, I had more assists than you. And then Lowry said, you had the ball more than I did. Well, they won the game, didn't they? And finally, here's another soundbite. Jimmy Butler says, we don't give a crap what guys like me think or what anybody thinks. We're an 8 seed. Yeah. Well, yeah, you are. You kind of backpedaled into the playoff here. But Butler, really hard-working guy. Does not like playing with people who slack around. Had a problem with that in Minnesota. Had a problem with that in Philadelphia. And he's in that hardcore work environment, that culture that Miami has down there. This team has no business being here. But, my dad used to tell me that hard work will usually drive and perseverance just outdoes everything else in life. And you could see that with this Miami team. Jeez. But here's Butler saying, we've always had confidence that the Heat can make a postseason run.
How does this feel to you guys, what you have done so far? And if you go back all the way to that night against Chicago in the play-in, did you think then that something like this would be possible?
Damn right. I did. Damn right. We did. And the best part about it is we still don't care what none of y'all think, honestly speaking. We don't care if you pick us to win. We never have. We never will. We know the group of guys we have in this locker room. We know that Coach Spo puts so much confidence and belief in each and every one of us. Coach Pat as well. And so our circle's small, but this circle got so much love for one another. We pump constant confidence into everybody. We go out there and we hoop. We play basketball the right way, knowing that we always got a chance.
And that's true. I mean, they went up there and overcame that 9-point deficit on the road. That being said, let's talk about the team who lost last season. Win or lose, I'm off Boston. I'm sorry, Corey. Andre, I know you're a ball. I'm just off on them. I think the winner, now that we've seen both games, now that we've seen the Final Four, we've seen Denver. We've seen Denver and LA. We've seen Miami and Boston. Pending injury, Denver's going to win this thing. They're going to win tonight, my prediction. And they're going to win this thing in 6. And Boston, I think they'll probably come back and win this. I think they'll probably come back and win this thing. Here's a stat for you. This Darren Ravel put this out here about Game 7s, by the way. If I can find it. I've got so many screenshots, folks. It's an odd way to put together a program, but when you're doing it all on your own, you just got to do what you got to do, And I'm trying to find it right now, and I will find it if it kills me. Probably because I put it up here at the front. But basically, the statistic here on teams that win, that have a Game 7, this is what Ravel put out. With tonight's Celtics loss, the teams that have played in a Game 7 are now 33-53, straight up in Game 1. In the next round's Game 1 since 1988. So maybe it's just a fluke. And who do you blame? Who do you blame for that? Who do you blame for letting a 76er team without Joel Embiid in Game 1? Now, I know Harden had, 40-something points. That was the only one he had. But Boston had all control of that game. And Boston has – I've never seen a team like this that can lose track of thought and total zone out for big parts of the game. It's like they got some kind of attention deficit disorder. If this team wasn't that good, I wouldn't care. I would just say, listen, they're just not that good. But they have a tendency to zone out of games. They either play too lax or they last night I felt like they beat them in just about every stat except the three-pointer. Okay, but they also had 6 steals to Miami's 12. That's because they played too fast and they got reckless, turned the ball over, went back to Miami. Miami came back and of course, they had that great third quarter and overcome that deficit. And, of course, a lot of this is coaching. It's coaching. The coach he's got to sense that. He's got to adjust the lineup. John Wooden said, play fast, but don't get in a hurry. Don't get in a hurry. They just missed a lot of their three balls because they were rushing things, you know. And then on top of all that, Jason Tatum didn't even take a. I mean, I don't see. There's some kind of lack of communication. I think it was Cool Hand Luke, wasn't it, Pickles? What we have here is a failure to communicate. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Jason Tatum didn't take a field goal attempt in the fourth quarter. You know, I mean, that's what the coach is supposed to see. Hey, listen, man. How do you think we won Game 6 and Game 7? Because we drew up plays for you to get the freaking ball, man. We drew up plays for you to get the ball. Now, why is this guy? Because he's 34 years old. He should be a head coach. That's why, for one thing. But for another thing, why isn't he calling for it? You know, that's been the issue with him for a long time. This goes back. Do you think, and this goes back to my trade proposal. Now, I know he had 51, and everything I said, I still agree with. But it's that timidness. It's that system. It's a style like Steve Kerr that can go up to him and say, "Listen, we got to get Steph the ball. Okay, let's draw up a play. Let's get him the ball." They're running us out of our own gym in the third quarter. Okay, timeout. Come up here. We're going to draw this up. Marcus, slow down. Take a deep breath. You're at home. They do this all the time at home. Remember last year they lost at home. Slow down. Play fast, but let's not get in a hurry, okay? You have a tendency to do that. Throw the ball in the crowd. All right, we're going to set up something. We're going to get Jason, and if the three's not falling, get it at the top of the key. That's the difference between this team and a team like Denver. You know, Denver's missing those 3-point shots, and then Joker said, "Okay, I'm going to the rack. I'm going, and if I don't have a clear lane, I'm gonna zip that ball over or around Anthony Davis, and I'm gonna get it to a Michael Porter or Jamal Murray. They're gonna take a 8-footer. Bam! We stopped their run. That's what happened. That's what happened Tuesday in the Denver game. So that's coaching, and also it's just that there's some kind of timidness there with Tatum, Carlos, that has been going on for a while, and of course it came back and bit them. I think maybe they win. I just can't. And by the way, they've got home court. Say against the Lakers or against Denver, they've got home court. But how can you say you trust this team who constantly gives up big plays, big wins, big runs at home like this? You know, they've got 57 wins. That's the second in the whole league. Remember, Milwaukee had the 1 seed. Denver's got 53 wins. So if they make it against Denver, and of course, LA's got a whole lot less. They were 7th seed in the West there. You know, so I mean, maybe they do, but you know, the odds makers have changed now. The odds makers now, FanDuel, have Denver as favorites, followed by Boston, LA, and then of course Miami, who should not be there. They're there off smart coaching. I mentioned 2 championship caliber players there, Jimmy Butler and a bunch of undrafted guys. You know, and I think they'll play well tomorrow. And that's the only good news. I just read that stat by Darren Ravel, Carlos. Again, teams that have played Game 7 are now 33-53 straight up in the next game. All that intensity. Celtics brought that on themselves. They brought it on themselves. They should have won Game 1. That game would have been over within 6th. They would have had equal amount of rest, and they probably win last night. But and Carlos says they're simply consistently inconsistent. They are the most consistently inconsistent team I've ever saw. This team was up 2-1 in the finals last year. Won Game 1 in the finals, which is crucial. And then they got so much talent, but they seem to just can't put it all together. No matter what happens, like I said before. You definitely, I don't know if you exercise trading Tatum. I would look into it. It's on the table. But without a doubt, you've got to fire this head coach. This guy's not ready. Okay, he's not ready. He'll be a great assistant somewhere. There's other good coaches out there. Your Nick Nurses, even Monty Williams, somebody of that nature that's out there right now to be another recycled coach there. But you simply cannot continue to go on at this rate. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Okay? But as you can see, I'm a little frustrated with these. And I don't know what 0 attempts in the fourth quarter. What are you thinking, man? Carlos says trust cannot be much bet on this team. Lowry helps pick up the team. Albijado, that's Bam is the key. He picks up. Yeah, Bam, Carlos, had 18 plus minus. It was the highest on both teams. It was negative for both Brown and Tatum last night. So that it was just a crappy game. Again, they're either not look like they're simply not paying attention, or they're playing at 150 miles an hour. They just can't get a solid comfort level. Now, if you get just flat out get played, that's one thing. But it's another thing if you look like you're just totally out of it, or you're in fast forward. This team's been together for years. There should be no excuse for that, you know? But, hey, maybe it was just because they went to Game 7. And who's doing is that? Who's doing is that? That's at the doing of the Celtics themselves. They're their own worst enemy, in my opinion. Okay, before it gets too late, ESPN, there's a article out of the Wall Street Journal that ESPN is considering going direct to consumer. That $9.95 a month you pay to pay cable. What was supposedly going to go. This is from Wall Street Journal today. ESPN chairman Jimmy Perio recently stated it would happen when it was made sense for the business and the bottom line. Although ESPN Plus is a direct-to-consumer service, was launched 5 years ago and has drawn 25 million subscribers, it does not give users access to the linear channel. It has been discussed for years and years now. Recently reported it finally happened. ESPN is preparing to sell its linear television channel to consumers direct. According to the Journal, like I just said, 95% of Americans access streaming platforms, while 40% have an active cable or satellite television subscription. I'm part of that 40%. ESPN collects $9.42 per average cable television bill through collective fees and computer cable companies. I'll say this, dwindling cable subscriptions. People are tired of getting jacked by cable, okay? A few months ago, I was paying close to $300 a month for cable. That's just crazy, you know? Back in the day, it feels like just a few years ago, Carlos, cable $50, you know? It's almost $300 because you get the internet through cable, and you're paying for a lot of stations you simply do not watch. I think the issue is now, I think, that people are going to have to start to get more. I know you got Fire Stick with Amazon, and you've got Fire Stick with the Amazon thing. I know you get some stations. You got Roku TV, all that stuff. Younger people, older people. I'm 41. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. Now, I've got cable through my internet, but at one time I did used to stream through Verizon. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. So the internet provider, that's going to become more of a business now than the cable thing. Okay. I know you got YouTube TV. It takes people a while to create new habits, but young people with salaries going down around the country, inflation up, it's really just it's a pain in the butt for cable. But that being said, you're not keeping up with passwords and everything, and you're not opening up one app, trying to do one thing, opening up another app, trying to do another thing. So it's how many smart TVs do people have? I just got mine about 3-4 years ago. Got a smart TV 3-4 years ago, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 3-4 years ago. Love me some Netflix and all that. I've, just temporarily cut my Netflix off. I'll open it back up. I'll turn it back on when you have Stranger Things and all that, Outer Banks. But I also got Amazon. But the thing is, I'll probably watch 4 or 5 channels, if that. And a lot of that is sports. So, ESPN with doing this, I do think this future will have more packages per se, even though I know there's some out now that people could get used to getting through different services not named cable. And that being said, I use Xfinity here out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I've noticed the last few years that they're not as short with me on their customer service as they used to be. They're a lot more respectful there. So Carlos says, being in New York City, these sports is ridiculous. Even Apple TV blacked me out. See, that's stuff right there. People, these companies, Amazon, by the way, Amazon did Thursday Night Football last year, and the ratings were in the toilet. The games were terrible. We're in the midst of a huge gas. I was watching this show called Live Patrol. It used to be Live PD, by the way. It's on Reels. That's another thing. It's on an off station that used to be on A&E, but that's a whole different argument. And the gas in Nevada is $4.19. It's about $3 to $3.25 to $3.50 here in Nashville. $4.19 in Nevada. I thought, wow, that's California prices. So my point is, people can't afford this stuff, And I understand the cord cutting. The cord's cutting because people can't afford it. And I don't know what these businesses, there was also a report today that Peacock, Carlos, Peacock, which is NBC, of course, their streaming service, they're going to carry exclusively for $120 million that they paid for. They're going to carry one playoff game. NBC pays $110 million to make an NFL playoff game exclusive on Peacock. That's $5 more extra a month just for the Peacock. First ever, and you see the headline as if it's a good thing. What makes the NFL great? It has a blue collar mentality. The players play the hardest because you don't have guaranteed contracts. It's always been more of a blue collar, middle class sport. Even though some of the people in the stadiums, their corporate suites and all that, your everyday 9 to 5, which now it's 9 to, sometimes it's 9 to 9, the way society is right now because of wages and stuff going down. People just want to go home and watch the game. And a lot of people's working 2 and 3 jobs. They just want to watch the game. Stop gouging people with these streaming services. Stop being greedy. And when you start getting away from your core audience here, which is blue collar people, you're going to lose viewers, And now people so addicted to the NFL, I think they're saying that the bottom line will be that, we'll simply never have so many less viewers. Bleep the everyday average human being, and that really just grinds my gears how they want to do that. Yeah, I've heard that Apple TV carries some of the Yankee games, Carlos. And here's the thing. When you start spreading things around like that, you're going to lose viewership. What I like about the NFL, I'm just using it for example now, is appointment TV. When when it's September here, at 1 o'clock Eastern time, the second week of September, there's an NFL football game coming on. And with that being said, Keith Engel here from TGI Sports. I was just talking about this, Keith. I know I didn't send you this. This is just a basic. You didn't take a lot of thought here. What do you think about Peacock now? Won't carry a playoff game they're getting farther and farther away from the working class, in the NFL.
It was inevitable, right? I mean, I saw this
Yeah.
coming. I've been talking about it since I've been doing podcasts and vlogs, that this is the direction that we're going. And, you're going to have pay-per-view for everything that's important in sports.
Yeah.
So, that's a la carte, so you'll be able to buy what you want, I suppose, at some point, but it's getting ridiculous. And by the way, if they're going to charge me for these things, they better their production level better increase, because it's really bad right now.
It does lag, and now ESPN is talking about doing a direct to consumer also now. There was a story out today, $9 and something, which that may be a good thing, because a lot of people that get these cable packages, they don't want to pay for some of this other crap that they got.
You've seen a slow movement towards this. I mean, when ESPN Plus started, you pay to get a lot of the college football games. Not maybe the best games, right? Not yet, but you will. Right. I guarantee you that ABC's Game of the Week ends up on ESPN Plus or someplace where you've got to pay for it. Notre Dame games have ended up on Peacock in the past couple of years already. So, nobody should be surprised. I'm not saying they should be happy, but not by any means. But I know, and
I wish we could make these people pay for it, Keith. It just irritates the crap out of me that they're wanting to go to this limit. Plus, those college games, they're in the middle of the night, man. I go to bed when these 7 o'clock games, which I'm in Central Time, so 8 o'clock here, there's no stoppage there. Can you imagine going to a streaming service? I mean, I can't even record it that way and watch it back over like I can now in the morning time.
It depends on, I guess, what you have. I mean, I use what do I have now? Whatever they call DirecTV streaming today. It was.
Oh, do you? Okay.
But you have recording capabilities. But
okay.
It depends on what you have. But if you're just getting the apps, right? Yeah, you don't have any way to stream, and you're just it's hard.
I know, man.
But you know what? Yeah. Money runs everything, Robert, and that's just. I know it.
It makes the world go around. Now, yesterday, the Spurs won the lottery here. They got Victor Wembanyama. They're going to take him. Do you think, and we talk about Greg Popovich, for 74-year-old Greg, do you think this pushes life into him as a coach, and maybe he coaches another 4 or 5 years versus maybe retire next year?
I think it's entirely possible. It adds a couple of years to his career at least, because this is, he hasn't had a player like this since Tim Duncan, and,
Man, 1997. What happened to time? I remember that like it was yesterday.
Right. I mean, it seems like yesterday, and now he's been retired. He must be retired. I don't know. 10 years. What's he been retired? 10 years?
It's been a while since he retired. Yeah.
It's amazing how time does fly by. And, this is the type of player that, Popovich became a much better coach when he got Tim Duncan. That's for sure.
Yeah. He looked great with Tim Duncan and David Robertson. I'm comparing it to, I was playing a soundbite for Mike Tyson's first trainer there, Gus D'Amato, saying this guy makes me want to live again.
Gus was about 90 when he started working with Tyson. I think he was an old man then. But
Greg Popovich has got this get off my line thing. He's lecturing these reporters on gun control. I mean, he's way out in left field. I'm like, man, you guys have lost a ridiculous amount of game. What are you going way out on these political rants? He's get off my line guy. It's always kind of been that way, but I feel like he's went farther. But now
he's always
got Wembanyama.
Yeah, he's always been cranky. But you look at, he's not relevant enough to really. Nobody cares what he's got to say. Now maybe people care what he has to say.
Yeah, but that being said, I'm glad that Wembanyama, I was telling everybody, I was crossing my fingers he didn't go to Detroit. God.
No, I think this is a good
Orlando.
place for him. This is a great place for him to go, I think. And, city of San Antonio supported that team pretty well, and I think it'd be nice to see them get a little resurgence as well. Good for the NBA.
Yeah, even if it's one of his assistants,
Yeah.
That take over here. What was I going to ask you? What do you think Memphis should trade Ja Morant with his latest gun issue?
Yes, I mean, but who's going to take that on? I mean, there's always one dumb owner, of course, but this kid, something's got to happen in sports in general, and the NBA specifically. NFL's not that far behind. These kids needs, I know the NFL tried to set up this mentoring system or this whatever you want to call it, the initiation before as kids were coming in. Yeah, whatever they were calling it. But, I mean, they'd have guys like Chris Carter in there lecturing guys and telling them to have somebody in their posse to take the
I remember that.
That's not what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to teach these guys to be accountable. And you know what? Maybe by the time they get to the pros, Robert, it's just too late, right? I mean, if guys aren't taking the reins on them in their late high school years or college years, and by the time they get here and the money's just flowing, there's no way to stop it. It's out of control, and until something just awful happens. And I fear for this kid that something awful is going to happen with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Playing with that gun like that, it sends that bad message, and then, I was reading when researching that story the other day, his mom, now his parents aren't helping him. His mom calls him to come up there and help her with the dispute with the Finish Line employee at the mall. What is she thinking? Knowing he's a public figure. And then his dad gets thrown out of the game, arguing with Shannon Sharp. There was some kind of other incident where some Pacer players felt threatened. It started just a drip effect with him. He gets suspended 8 games, and then 2 or 3 weeks after the season's over with, he's doing this.
I would be surprised when this is over that he's going to be suspended for a while, because
now, quarter of the season, half season.
It could be a half a season.
41 games.
The NBA and all these leagues need to take a harder stance with these guys, or nothing's going to stop this. If they're just allowed to just run roughshod and get suspended for 10 games and, whatever, I lose, 10 games out of
82
worth of pay out of $40 million a year. What do I care?
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what you need to suspend him for a year, suspend some guy for life if we don't straighten up.
If he keeps doing it, I think that works. I noticed that there's not a lot of guys in Major League Baseball getting felonies PED. Now I noticed that what was the guy's name for San Diego? Got suspended for PEDs, but it's not as much as you would think, because they're half a season with these guys.
No, and again,
Tatis or whatever, Fernando Tatis
Jr. Yeah. Look, at all these leagues need to get tougher. Stop turning a blind eye to these guys, and
they put them on pedestals, Keith.
If you can play the sport and you can play it well and you can help a team, you're always going to get another second chance, a third chance, a 10th chance.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter. This was always my argument with Colin Kaepernick. He's not in the league because he's blackballed. He just can't play. Nobody wants him, because if he could play, look at these other guys that get a chance and the things that they've done. Look at Deshaun Watson. John Morant will get chance after chance. It doesn't matter what he does with guns. If you can play your sport, you will continue to get chances. And until leagues stop and teams stop giving these guys all these chances, then it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, and I think trading him, I kind of compared it to who was it? Chris Carter got cut in 1990, and he said that was the best thing ever happened to him when Minnesota picked him up, because he addressed his alcohol. We don't know if John Morant may have a drug or alcohol problem.
He could have a serious problem in that regard. Yeah. We don't know, and I hope whatever the problem is, he gets help. I don't want this kid listen. I don't just say it and screaming, because I can be that cranky guy telling you.
You'd be Greg Popovich, huh?
I could be. But it isn't just that. I'm not just yelling for the sake of yelling, right? I want these kids to get help, and I want them to take advantage of the talents that they have and not waste it. Like I've watched a lot of guys in my lifetime, as you have, Robert. I've lived through Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry, and these guys who just wasted their careers on drug and alcohol and other activities. And now the activities are getting more and more dangerous, because you're not just now, destroying your own lives. You're putting yourself in a position to destroy lots of lives when you're playing with firearms. And we see guys in cars, and it's just.
You know what was funny? I was listening to Jason McIntyre. He's with Fox Sports. He's a younger guy. He's about a year younger than me, and he was talking about that song that his friend put him on IG Live, Instagram Live, and he's talking about the song, and he named one of the rappers in that song. Then he named another rapper, which was Lil Wayne. Now here's a little backstory of Lil Wayne. Me and him about the same age too. Lil Wayne, that rapper, shot himself when he was a kid playing with the gun, rapping to the song, hey, I did this and blah, blah, pop, shot himself, dials 911, almost bleeds to death in his mom's room. Police kick in the door. They get him the proper medical treatment. So how ironic that is. Little kids see that stuff, and then they say, hey, man, can you see an 8-year-old walking around with his parents' pistol, rapping with a gun and having a John Moran jersey? How would he feel then? You know?
I would hope he'd feel bad, but I'm not so sure he would. I have no clue.
But that's, you hear guys like J.J. Redick want to throw up some politician. He's trying to win brownie points. Instead of saying, no, that's a gun safety issue, playing with the gun like that, man. Come on, dude.
Yeah, it's not. Look at, and these guys make it into a Second Amendment issue. Listen, that's not that. I'm a very conservative individual. He doesn't have a right to go around waving a gun in strip clubs and wherever he was here the last time. That's not written in the Constitution anywhere.
Right. The speed limit doesn't change. You don't see it, not here in Tennessee. You don't see like the speed limit change if it's icy outside. It's 70 miles. You're not going to do 70 when it's pouring down rain or when it's ice, not unless you're an idiot.
Right.
That's me with the highway thing. Yeah, it may be legal to do 70, but that's in great conditions. That is not doing it when it's icy outside. No. So that's the same kind of idiotic argument that you hear a guy like Jason Whitlock said he's virtue signaling, so he'll get an NBA job. He's rumored to be a front runner for the Toronto Raptor job. So he wants to be woke enough, in air quotes, so he can fit in with your Steve Kerrs of the world. And I'm just so sick of that crap, man.
I hear woke one more time. Not that I'm going to hit. I mean, because you use the air quotes. It's okay.
Quotes, yeah.
But, grief.
One of the main reasons I brought you on now, Tom Brady, this ceremony at New England with the Patriots, do you think that one of these two parties will ever do a tell-all book about what that 20-year relationship was like? Because, we've heard bits and pieces, but we've never really heard a timeline or anything.
There is a book, and I can't think of the name of it now. I read it. It might have been Dynasty, might have been the name of it, but it's as close as I've seen to what actually went on.
Okay.
Behind the closed doors. But again, for one of these guys to do it, I don't see it. I don't feel the personalities. Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. I don't see these guys. No, I don't think so. It's possible. Everything's possible today because you offer a guy enough money and they might do it. But none of these guys need the money.
They don't need the money, but
I don't need the notoriety. So I just don't see it happening. Yes. You know what'll happen? There'll be, a fourth party that will say he was close enough to everything. He saw and heard everything. And here's what actually went on. A Julian Edelman or somebody like that will write a book, and that's as close as you're probably going to get.
Or Welker. Yeah, one of those two. Yeah.
Welker be a good, he'd be a good guy to probably do it. Just catch the damn ball, and next time you wouldn't have to write a book.
But Tom Brady, if he did a it would sell a ton.
Yeah.
Now, it would put a big wedge between him and Belichick.
I guarantee
Maybe it's already there, though. I don't know.
He will have the money thrown at him. I think it's going to be interesting to see this whole ceremony and how it unfolds. We don't know yet what they're going to do. Yeah. It'll definitely. Mac was saying, "Oh, maybe they'll just put him up on the board." No, there's going to be a big ceremony. He's going to be on the field. Bob Kraft's going to be on the field, and the question is going to be whether Belichick's just kind of wandering around by himself, or he's going to be part of this thing. My hunch says that Belichick will be there and he will do the right thing, and because he knows what Brady meant to his career, just like what Belichick meant to Brady's career. It meant a lot to both of them. And I think you'll see these two guys probably embrace and say all the right things, and they may retire his jersey that night. I'm thinking.
That would be nice. You know,
he needs to be in the Ring of Honor or whatever we call it in New England. I don't even know what we call it, but he needs to be there, right? To me, there's two guys. Tom Brady and John Hanna are the Patriot franchise.
Now, what years did Hanna play? I heard you say that on another program the other day.
Yeah, came in the early 70s and played through the mid 80s. So played 70, 73,
what
74.
Position did he play?
What's that?
What position did Hanna play?
Oh, offensive line. One of the best offensive linemen in the game. He was a
first ballot Hall of Fame guy.
Absolutely. Great player, great person. Played on some bad Patriot teams, played on a Patriot team that went to the Super Bowl and got annihilated by the Bears. And that was that was the highlight. That was the highlight and the low light of his career, probably that day. So, all in the same.
One of them Joe Thomas kind of guys, huh?
Yeah, he was a great player, but I think Brady. I think that's what'll happen on that day, and who knows? Maybe he'll suit up and play, and we won't have to worry about whether Bill Belichick's like Mac Jones anymore or not.
I thought about that situation, and I thought to myself, maybe Belichick felt so bad the way that incident happened with him and Parcells, where they didn't shake hands and they didn't talk for years. Maybe he has softened up a little bit. I hope he does. Just say, you know what, I really do owe a lot to Brady, Tom, and he knows the perfect marriage at the perfect time.
He knows he does, and there'll come a time where these guys will sit down. You saw it again. We talk a lot. I talk with you a lot about ESPN's documentaries, and there's one called The Two Bills. If you haven't, seen
love that one. That was the one. Yeah,
that was the one where they first really kind of sat down and hashed out all their.
They went to Giants Stadium, but they didn't want to go to the Jets Park.
No, I know.
You love those sports docs, don't you?
I do. Hey,
did you ever get a chance to see Air yet?
Oh, yeah, we watched it last weekend. It was really good.
Same here. I'm on Amazon. Speaking of streaming. It
was really, really good. I think I'm sure there were a lot of liberties taken here, but because Sonny Vaccaro isn't known as this lovable, huggable kind of guy. He's got some really dark and rough edges around him, Sonny Vaccaro, but
I bet
he wasn't portrayed that way in this movie, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. It was very enjoyable. And I think, the story, the heart of that story is probably totally accurate the way it happened, I think, so.
Yeah. I was telling the audience, I love the way he explained that, this guy, Michael Jordan, Dean Smith had lost, 3 championship games prior to this. You've got James Worthy and Sam Perkins on this team.
Yeah.
And the ball's supposed to go to a true freshman with the money on the line. You could get fired for something like that. That tells you what he's doing in practice.
Yeah. And it's funny because back in the day, it was when Michael Jordan went to the NBA, there was a joke then. And I guess you have to be a little older than you guys are. Yeah. But there was a joke that the only guy who can contain Michael Jordan was Dean Smith.
I think that was said in the I've watched the Last Dance probably 3 or 4 times. I love that.
Very well done, too. Although I will say this much about it. I think Michael Jordan probably had a little too much editorial control there. But it was good. It was fun, and it was good to see, that behind the scenes. I love that behind the scenes stuff, and it's
man. Yeah, Air's really good, folks. If you get a chance to watch it there, I tell you, it makes Jordan's agent look kind of cutthroat, don't it?
Well, David Falk was one of the most cutthroat guys back in the day. I mean, Michael was his biggest client, obviously, by that point, but he was an agent for a lot of big players in the NBA. He was probably the biggest power broker in the NBA at one point. Yeah, and it's very funny the way that he threw that Air Jordan
stuff at the end.
He threw the Air Jordan thing in there, and kind of just as a throwaway. And they said the guy comes up with the same line for Nike, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, just do it or something like that.
No, the Air Jordan.
Oh, the air. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Right, Air.
David
Yeah.
Falk said in that conversation, and when they asked their guy there in the meeting, he said, "What should we call this line of sneakers?" He goes, "How about Air Jordan?" He goes, "Falk said it. Maybe you won't remember he said it, but he did."
Well, I mean, the idea of going to them people's house like that from Oregon to North Carolina, I mean, you're risking everything. Not only, I was thinking he's risking his career after something like that, man.
Absolutely. I mean, and he was warned that he would be risking his career if he went, and he still did it. So it's ballsy, right? But
man,
sure paid off for everybody involved, I'd say.
160 something million. They just wanted to make 3. They didn't have a big budget. It's a great movie, folks. If you want to see that, it's on Amazon. That's one of the few that I have not cut off there.
Great cast too, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. I loved Jason Bateman as a great actor.
I'm glad you said it. I could not remember his name.
Oh, he's great. He's great. He was great in this movie too. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the NBA. You can only have white at the bottom of your shoes. You couldn't have too much color on your shoe. What was they thinking?
Well, think about it. When they offered to pay the fines, they were going to pay the fines would have cost them as much as they were paying Jordan.
Phil Knight was like, "What am I going to tell the board here?"
Right? You just doubled what I said I was going to pay out. And when you think about it today, right? Not that $250,000 is a little bit of money, but compared to what they're throwing around for shoe deals today,
yeah.
I mean, probably the last guy on the bench has got a $250,000 a year shoe deal.
He invented the whole industry.
Oh,
I didn't know Arthur Ashe had that. See, there's so much to learn from that.
New to me. That was new to me too.
Oh, okay. And you were around during that time.
The Arthur Ashe thing was new to me too. I did not realize that he came up with that whole line of rackets and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at what people will pay for. Hey, let me ask you a little bit about the Yankees. Speaking of high money, and I was looking this up. Tampa's in first place. They're 28 in payroll. Only Baltimore and Oakland's behind them, and they're in first place. Do the Yankees catch them? It's still early.
It is early, very early. Tampa's built this lead, and again, I don't want to disparage what they've done. They've had a great month and a half of baseball. They built a lot of this lead off of some of the worst teams in baseball. They played a lot of games against the A's. They played, the Red Sox have played okay, but they played a bunch of games against the Red Sox, the Cardinals, the teams that are just playing horrible baseball. Now you got to beat those teams in order to win divisions and win titles anyway. But, they happen to get these teams early on, and the Yankees didn't. I mean, think about it. The Yankees are, I don't know what they are today. I think, are they still 7 games back?
I think they're still 7 games back. Yeah.
I mean, but they were also.
Are they playing each other today? I don't even know what the score was last.
They are playing. I happen on my. They're playing. The Blue Jays are still playing the Yankees. It's 3-1 Yankees and Blue Jays.
Okay.
And they got their own issues.
Another home run.
They got their own issues going on this week. The Blue Jays and Yankees. There's a nice little rivalry getting built here in this series, but I think it's going to be a great race. But Tampa Bay, who I did not think was going to play this well, I think they'll hang in there. Got some pitching issues, though. They've already lost a couple of their best pitchers, one for the season.
Really?
Yeah, okay. Springs was a Cy Young candidate, and he's done for the year. Rasmussen's been banged up. I don't think he's out for that long, but they've had some problems. Everybody's going to have injuries, so it's how deep you are and how you overcome these injuries. I think it'll be the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Rays, and some semblance of that. The Orioles, too. 4 teams could come out of this division and go to the playoffs.
Yeah, the Orioles are in second. They're 3.5 back from Tampa.
Playing great baseball. It's not a fluke. I mean, they got off to a horrible start last year, and about this time, maybe a little bit later, they went on a 12 or 13 game win streak last year, and they've played great baseball for the last year. So this isn't a fluke for them. They've played a pretty consistent brand of baseball for a year now. And I like what they've done there, and they've done it pretty much from within.
Well, yeah, they're 29th in payroll. Oakland's 30th, go figure,
Well, they're going to lose 130 games this year, too. They will. I think there's a very good chance Go to DraftKings and find out what the money line is on this, that they break the record for losses, which is 120 by the 62 Mets.
Are they going to move to the Vegas?
Yeah, I think it's a done deal.
Okay.
It's a done deal. And they, I don't know whether that, their ownership is not great. I don't know you ought to be rewarding them with one of the prize cities, but the city of Oakland's done nothing to keep this team. They've done nothing. The fans haven't supported them. It's a horrible venue to watch a game anyway, but the fans, even when they won, when they had a dynasty in the 70s, they had a dynasty, mini dynasty kind of in the late 80s and early 90s. Nobody came to regular season games. They get 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people to see great baseball teams. Nobody came for the playoffs.
Do you believe that Reggie Jackson story about the A's where he tried to buy the A's and it was I'm like you. Like I said, I don't know Reggie. He looks like he was exaggerating a lot.
Reggie tends to have a lot of hyperbole when he talks. I think he might have been part of a group, like a very tiny part.
Yeah.
Reggie's got money. Reggie doesn't have buying baseball teams money.
Yeah.
He's not a billionaire. So I think he's probably exaggerating just a little bit. Because if Major League Baseball would be foolish. If Reggie Jackson had his name tied to buying the A's, that'd be the best thing that could happen to the A's. Major League Baseball would not.
Right. And he said Bob Selig's friend bought it, and we were willing to give him $10 million more, but Bob Selig's friend, and I'm like, Bob Selig's still alive. How come somebody won't ask him about that? The former commissioner.
Yeah, I'm not sure why either. He keeps throwing him under the bus, and he was calling him the commissioner, which he wasn't the commissioner at the time. He was trying to buy the team either.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay.
No, I don't believe
so. That's why I kind of thought it was BS too.
I don't believe so. See, again,
he's telling Howard Stern, and he had a documentary out. Did you watch that? It's pretty good.
The Reggie one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Again, I think it was
fabricated.
No, I think it was done to be kind to Reggie in a lot of ways. I don't think it, I think it was
editorial control, like you said.
Yeah, again, he said he had nothing to do with it making this. They didn't ask me anything about it, but I thought it was very kind to Reggie in most regards.
Even though I'm like you, but I was listening to some of the Yankee players, and I was listening. He was a me guy.
Oh, without a doubt.
he was that far from T.O., if you ask me.
He was probably beyond T.O., I would say.
Wow. Okay, so you're older than me. What was it like with Reggie and that Yankee team? Does it look like it's me and then it's them? It's not us.
Being a Yankee fan during that time was certainly interesting because it was a circus every day. A 77, 78 with Reggie and George and Billy. Watch any of the documentaries about that, read any of the books, and they're probably everything you read about it is true. I mean, craziness went on. Yeah, from the time Reggie got there, he did a sport magazine interview, which you probably heard about.
Yeah.
And he was quoted in it as saying, I'm the straw that stirs the drink.
Yes, that's what ticked everybody off. Yeah.
Stern thinks he's a straw, but he can only stir it badly. And it went on and on and on from there. And when the magazine article didn't come out until after the season started, I think in April, after the team was off to a bad start, and they tried to get out in front of this, right? And Reggie said he was misquoted, and the press goes to Thurman and says, Reggie said he was misquoted. And he goes, he was misquoted for 1,000 effing words.
Other words, the whole thing was crap, huh?
So there were some great. You remember Mickey Rivers played with that team? I don't know if I've told this story at this show.
No. Hey, it's for my time. I'm all ears, man.
So Mickey, this is during this whole thing going on. Whether it was 77 or 78 probably doesn't matter because those 2 years are a blur.
Okay.
But Mickey was being interviewed, and Mickey was a character. I mean, just he could talk so fast you couldn't understand him. But they asked him one time, and he said, Reggie's, this, that, and the other thing. And Reggie claims he's got a IQ of 151 or something. And Mickey goes, out of what? 1,000? So,
other words, he's right. He's at Forrest Gump level.
there's
Yeah,
so many stories.
You know what really kind of annoyed me about that is he talks about Thurman Munson, but he never says anything nice about Thurman. And I know Munson died in that plane crash, right?
Yeah, and Thurman and Reggie actually became pretty decent friends.
He never said anything about nothing came about. So that tells me that he's a very standoffish guy.
Yeah,
He
but
could at least said something after the guy died in that plane crash. Didn't they win a World Series together? Or was that?
yeah, they
was
won
that years off?
They won 2 World Series.
Oh, okay,
again.
okay.
77,
Yes.
78 they won. 79 they were not playing well when Thurman tragically died. But
Yes.
Reggie has commented on this in the past. In that series he did in that documentary he did not. I do not know why.
Nothing.
I do not know why that wasn't broached, because that was a big part of, his time with the Yankees, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's come up, and Reggie was broken up there. If you watch, highlights and see interviews during that time, and it was a very emotional time.
Yes.
For Yankee fans, obviously, and the Yankee family. But Reggie and Thurman had kind of a bond after, all that they'd gone through with the George and Billy and Reggie stuff. And Thurman wanted out of there. That was one of the reasons he had the plane in the first place. He wanted to get home. Every time it was an off day, he went home to Canton. And it was tragic. He shouldn't have been flying that. The plane was too much for him that he was flying.
Yeah. Can you imagine Shaq not saying anything after Colby was killed in that helicopter crash?
No, Shaq. Shaq,
even though they were at odds at a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's an interesting parallel that you bring up, Robert. I mean, that's kind of the same kind of dynamic when you think about it that Reggie and Thurman had.
Flashing like nobody's business.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think they would have backed up the other one against anybody else.
Yes.
I'll say what I want about him, but don't you say anything. I think it's kind of that relationship that Shaq and Kobe had, and I think Reggie and Thurman end up with the same kind of relationship by the end.
Okay, man, Keith, we're all set here. Man, you're great, by the way. I appreciate it, and keep me updated on this baseball thing. I like I was saying earlier, I got so much caught up in the playoffs, the draft, and then baseball's a marathon, anyways. Like you said, the hotter it gets, it seems like the hotter the Yankees bats get, anyways. I think they can catch them.
I do. They played very good baseball the last week and a half, 2 weeks almost, and things are starting to heat up. And this Blue Jays series has been a lot of fun because now the Blue Jays have accused the Yankees of stealing some signs, and the manager's yelling and calling somebody a fat boy. And
is Guerrero still playing? Guerrero Jr., is he still playing pretty well?
Vlad Jr.'s playing. He's one of the greatest players in the game. He's a really good ball player. He's turned himself into. He looked like he was going to eat himself out of the league for a while, but he's got himself in shape. He's one of the best defensive first basemen in the league, besides being just a great hitter. This is a great series. Yankees are ahead 3-1 right now and playing good baseball, and I expect it to be a dogfight in that American League East for those 4 teams, maybe in it all season.
I'm going to get back into it now that the playoffs are kind of slowing down. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win these finals right now?
I like Denver a lot. I like Denver.
Okay, I'm with you, man. It's not just me.
Denver got over the hump. I think that they've had some failures the last few years. Jokic has not come up as big as he should have maybe in the playoffs until now, but he's the best player in the NBA. Sorry, Embiid or whoever you want to bring up. He's the best player in the NBA. And I think they're ready to take the next step up, which is win it all. Problem is this Heat team doesn't want to go away.
No. Man, they're like Freddy Krueger, man.
Jimmy Butler seems to be on a mission. I think they got the best coach, the most underrated coach in the NBA for sure. If not the best coach. Eric Spoelstra, very underrated. And they're playing some great basketball right now. And the Knicks, you're finding out the Knicks didn't really choke away this series. This Heat's a good team.
They're like that NCAA tournament team that got hot,
Yeah.
The playing game. Spoelstra said he loves the playing game. I'm thinking that was very NCAA, like they were half away from being done. against Toronto.
You know, I do like Denver, but how would it be weird if the Lakers and the Heat played off?
Oh,
Two
God.
playing teams playing for a championship.
I would hate to see these Laker lovers on the national media. They would go flaunt over LeBron.
Yeah.
I think they're going to run out of gas. Game 6, the Lakers is going to run out of gas.
Yeah, I think it might be 5 games.
Maybe.
I think it'll be a 5-game series, maybe 6 tops, and I think the Nuggets will move on.
Yeah. All right. Keith Angle, everybody. TGI Sports. I'm going to try to listen to you guys in the morning. Sometimes when I get up late and I get sideways on job stuff, I miss it. But you and Carlos.
That's all right. Carlos is always sideways. Carlos is always sideways. Don't worry about that.
Ain't that the truth, man? Appreciate it, Keith.
Thanks, Robert.
Have a good night, buddy.
You too. Bye-bye.
See you, man. All right, everybody. Tonight, make sure and share the show. Now, there are Butler 723 if you want to see the show there. If you're on Twitter, make sure and tune in there. I'll be back tomorrow with Carlos, Mad New Yorker, Chavez. We'll talk about this Denver team. We'll talk about the playoffs. I may ask you, Carlos, about the Mets as well. So thanks for listening, everybody. Great show.